Welcome to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast, where we discuss cutting-edge techniques, industry trends, and business insights to take your fence or deck company to the next level and dominate your competition. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Danner, and also the founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, a digital marketing agency that works exclusively with fencing and decking companies. And today I have a great episode for you that I'm really excited about. Today I have Jeff Wilkins from TimberTech, who is the Contractor Development Manager there. And today we're going to be talking about everything TimberTech, everything they have going on, all kinds of stuff about, not just the deck boards they provide, but really their entire array of products that they offer. So we'll be going into a lot of detail there. So Jeff, I appreciate you, hopping on the podcast, taking the time. How's it going, man?
Absolutely, Alex. I appreciate you having me. All is well. It's Thursday. We got the first football game in the NFL starting.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Better.
What's your team?
Oh man. I think a lot of people know this, but I'm from outside of Philadelphia, so all around Philly sports fan. So of course.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it could be worse. You could be a Commanders fan like me and Redskins, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so Jeff and I are just going to be kind of digging into, like I said, TimberTech. And we have at Fence and Deck Marketers, we have a lot of clients that favor TimberTech. There's a ton of them. And I really only hear amazing things said about TimberTech and their products. So when I was introduced to Jeff by a friend, Chris Breen, I wanted to get him on the podcast, and we had to reschedule a couple of times. We got it working. So yeah, just I guess before we dive into all that stuff, Jeff, if you could just tell me a little bit more about you and I guess everything about yourself kind of leading up to, when you joined TimberTech, maybe a little bit about your background, your story, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, of course, an East Coaster, born and raised pretty much outside of Philadelphia. Went to college down in Virginia in Harrisonburg at James Madison University. Thought that I'd get into the sports world, was obsessed with sports, of course, growing up, having played soccer, squash, basketball, lacrosse. So it was like, let's go to college and let's get a sports marketing background and a business background and see where it takes us. So I actually, out of college, moved 2 weeks after graduating down to Tallahassee because my second goal was, let's move down to Florida because I'm sick of the winter weather up in the Northeast with all the snow that we got throughout the years growing up. Shoveled throughout high school though, so that helped pay some of the bills and saving up money. Moved down to Florida, worked for Florida State. Actually got into sales with the program down there, targeting football packages to their clientele down there. Figured out right away though that the NCAA wasn't really where I saw myself. Was about to take on a promotion, but decided to move actually back up north to the Philly area, and thought the NBA would be slightly different. So worked for the Sixers doing season ticket packages, suites, game day packages, all that good stuff. It was a grind. It taught me a lot. You're banging out 80 plus cold calls a day on game days. You're having 12-hour days where they expect you to do 60 cold calls a day. And so my dad, he was in the industry. He was not in the sports industry, in the building materials industry. And so he worked for a couple manufacturers from Hubble to Alcoa to Certainteed before he ended his career at a local family-run operated lumberyard up in Pennsylvania called J&L Building Supply. So I actually worked for them in high school, just 2 summers. Well, I take that back. 1 summer working there, and then the second was a little internship I did my senior year, and then worked for them after that. I was, working the warehouse the first year, and then the second year, I actually broke my metacarpal the first week doing my internship. They were having me do the warehouse and then getting outside a little bit, but I broke my metacarpal playing futsal, 3v3 soccer in the gym. And that turned into me having a cast. That turned into me not being able to lift shingles or drive a forklift. So instead, I traveled a lot with their outside sales reps. So that kind of ties back into leaving the Sixers and my dad being in the industry. I never thought I'd follow his footsteps. But as I was looking on Monster one day, a job posting had come up. One was for a roofer and one was for a manufacturer called FastenMaster. Well, FastenMaster actually does a lot of structural screws and hidden fasteners for all different manufacturers in our industry. I actually met with the roofer and I met up with FastenMaster and got offered the job for both companies. The advice I was given from my dad led me to choose the manufacturing position with FastenMaster. 6 months down the road working for FastenMaster, loved the opportunity, loved what I was doing. Had a territory down to Maryland, all the way up to Philly. But I had met with different manufacturers. TimberTech at the time was separate from AZAC. I met with a Trex rep. I met with a Wolf rep. So all across the board to PK to give them knowledge about our fasteners. Well, the AZAC meeting with the rep actually turned into what I wanted to do in the future, which turned into me giving him my resume, which turned into AZAC having bought TimberTech at that time frame, which turned into a new position and territory opening up, which 4 months later, I decided to take on that role. So that's kind of my background, and then it started in the southwestern New Jersey market where I was calling on, and this is back in 2013, was calling on builders, architects, homeowners, contractors, lumberyards, distributors, you name it, kind of the whole segment. And then I ended up in a bigger market, the Philadelphia market, greater Philadelphia market, 10x the size, which I was fortunate because if I had jumped into that market off the bat, I would have been a little overwhelmed at my age. And then I decided one of the senior leadership team members had rode with me, and there was a position out in Southern California. One of my roommates out of college and good friend growing up was like, dude, you ever been out to California? And I was like, yeah, a long time ago, but I don't really remember it. And he was like, you've got to check it out. So we ended up visiting. Long story short, put my name in the hat. They transferred me right out, moved me out to Southern California. Same position, but within 3 months, I was actually promoted to what we called at the time a channel manager. So instead of like the full product or the full clientele, I was mainly focusing on our distributors and lumberyards. I did mix in, however, contractors at the same time, because if you haven't been to California, it's pretty much 4 states in one. It's huge, of course. From there, actually, our CEO had traveled with me a couple of times and our president out in California, and they wanted me at the corporate offices. We had a position that needed to be backfilled for the contractor program manager. And so, unfortunately, I had to leave sunny California and Newport Beach, where I was at, to move to Chicago. And the first winter put up with the -50 polar vortex. From there, I decided to actually, it was either going to be out west or out east. I was running the program for about close to 3 years, and the company had wanted me out west in the position that I'm currently in now, which is the Contractor Development Manager position. I took that on for close to almost 3.5 years out in San Diego, and I was doing California over to Colorado for my territory. And then we decided we wanted to be closer to family out here on the East Coast. So we're in South Carolina now. So I'm doing pretty much Delaware to almost pretty much the southern point of Georgia, tip of Florida. And then after I had moved, we backfilled my position out there and then hired 2 others. So now I have 3 colleagues in my position, and things are going great. My focus in this position is a lot of new business. It's a lot of new business development. It's a lot of going after some of the guys that might be using competitors' products, whether it's composite products, PVC that are competitors, or wood, because wood's our biggest spectrum for competitors. And then just, going after guys that want to get into the decking world and trying to help their business, trying to help them understand what they need to achieve and do to be successful. And, connecting them with some of our contractors too that are willing to help out. So, and here I am 10 years later with the company.
Gotcha. Have you ever been asked that? That was a pretty fluid response of your story, man. I don't think I could come in that much detail if you asked me.
Oh man. Yeah, and I give that background too, because you might be sitting in front of a contractor and they're like, oh man, just another manufacturer's rep, trying to meet with me. And it's like, I'm not trying to approach it that way. I'm trying to, help build the relationship first and foremost and help out your business and figure out what we can do to better ourselves in the industry too. Because a lot of the times you might have that manufacturer's rep that's going to meet with the contractor, and that contractor might then go back to the competitor manufacturer who he's been dealing with and say, man, that was kind of a waste of time, to be honest. And we don't want that vibe. We want to be there to help as much as possible. So by giving that background to a contractor, he then realizes, or she then realizes that, oh shit, maybe Jeff can provide some value when the time comes. So
Yeah, no, I like it. Okay.
for sure.
So, all right, contractor development manager, that's your current role, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you touched on that a little bit. So, okay. And then, of course, I want to touch on some of the products there since you gave a great intro. I mean, I guess let's start on the decking side. I want, to hear, I guess, straight from you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that listen to this, I'm sure, are using TimberTech already, but maybe some guys that haven't are using another competitor or whatever. So maybe you just kind of talk about that a little bit, on the decking side, kind of what you guys are offering and, what you have on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've evolved over the years, of course. So, back in the late 80s, that's pretty much when TimberTech on the composite side originated. AZEK started with a PVC trim board, and then in 2007, they came out with their PVC decking, pretty much two colors, slate gray and brownstone, that are still around today. And then in 2012-ish, AZEK had purchased TimberTech, and they didn't necessarily want to upset anyone by saying, oh, you're an AZEK guy, we're going to now name everything TimberTech, and vice versa, and them kind of having a bad taste in their mouth. So slowly they evolved. So like nowadays, just to give some color and background, nowadays everything on the decking side of things and railing is pretty much referred to as TimberTech. So under the TimberTech umbrella, you're going to have your composite collections, and then you're going to have your advanced PVC collections. So, which the old timers, I'm calling myself an old timer, the guys that have been around a while, might still refer to the PVC boards as AZEK and might still refer to the TimberTech boards as composite. But, from a branding standpoint, that's kind of how we brand ourselves. So we do have, that's the neat thing about it too, is like, okay, I'm going to go meet with a new contractor that might be getting started in the industry. Contractor, might have touched PVC or might have touched composite in the past, had maybe an issue or didn't like how they installed the boards, how they like to install the boards, for instance. Maybe they didn't like how heavy the composite boards were. Well, as a manufacturer, we do have the option then to push them down the PVC route. So we do have the best of both worlds, being composite and PVC. We have our scalloped composite boards, which will start off at a lower price point. Scallop meaning we take out more material, can still span the same as other deck boards, but then we go all the way into our full cap boards. And then the neat part about it too is the majority of our collections are fully encapsulated, aka the bottom is capped as well. Some of those scallop boards, because they are a lower price point, they are three-sided. So one of our selling points and features in the past was the fact that we did have a four-sided cap product. One of our biggest competitors only has a three-sided cap product. Well, now we do offer that in the lower collection, but at the same time, we can still say, okay, we do have the four-sided cap product too. So it kind of gives you the heads up, all different colors, your grays, your browns, your tans, your beige, all that good stuff.
Gotcha. I'm just curious, like, because I hear, AZEK, TimberTech all the time, and obviously I'm the marketing side of it. So I'm just curious, like PVC versus composite, is there any like certain situations where you're like, yeah, you need to use one versus the other? I mean, I would like to just kind of know the situations, if there's any where, you want to use one versus the other, like when you kind of decide to switch between the two.
Dude, Alex, that's a great question. Yeah, so, I always say, and if you know me, from a rep standpoint, docks, for instance, like my mom and I grew up going to the Jersey Shore. I hate saying the Jersey Shore because it's not the TV show. It's the good portion of Jersey. It's South Jersey. So, Avalon, Stone Harbor, Cape May, south of Atlantic City. That's where I grew up going. You take a look at docks there that aren't PVC. what ends up happening a lot of the times, and especially if they're exposed on the underside, what ends up happening is if it's exposed on the underside and you're dealing with, let's say, salt water, you're dealing a lot with algae, for instance, that gets on the underside of the product. Eventually it will cause mold and mildew and build up over time. And either the boards will start pretty much to expand, to puff up, or they literally will just fall, like eventually start to corrode and fall apart. So that is the best part about PVC is if you were to put PVC in a bucket of water and you throw a composite board in there, PVC doesn't have any wood fillers. So it's going to outlast a composite board if you're in those elements 10 out of 10 times. As well as I say, ground level applications. So our install calls for pretty much either 1.5 inches or 2 inches above ground that you have to be. So sleeper systems is what you want to put on. I usually tend to push PVC over composites in those type of applications as well. So, but really any other applications you're looking at, either PVC or composite, it really comes down to the customer with the preference on the grain pattern and the color.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then maybe you could just kind of talk to like what TimberTech's doing with their boards, whether it's, the PVC or the composite, different than competitors, any kind of differences you guys have there. If you could speak to that too.
Yeah. So it was, kind of touching base on the material makeup. So you don't have any wood fillers in the PVC board. So that's the key factor in the PVC boards. The composite boards, the makeup, pretty much you're going to have, your wood flour versus your wood fiber, right? That's one of our biggest competitors. They use wood fiber in their boards. So you'll literally see the fibers fall out on the ends of the boards. That's the biggest thing. From a, company standpoint, manufacturing standpoint, since I've been here 10 years, going on 11 in November, there hasn't really been a year where we haven't come out with a new product. And usually, we do have almost every year, I think maybe but one, we're usually coming out with a couple new deck colors a year. We listen to feedback. We try to come out with new products that customers, both homeowners and contractors, request. And we're just trying to lead through innovation. That's what it comes down to.
Gotcha. Okay. Any I guess innovations maybe the past couple years? I guess maybe some of the bigger ones, that come to mind.
Yeah. So, we went public, of course, in 2020. Before that, we were privately held. So since 2020, we've gone through some acquisitions with companies that we've bought out. So some of the key companies, Structure, for instance, they're a powder coated smart aluminum patio cover pergola manufacturer. So they're actually out of Atlanta, and then they're West Coast as well. So that was huge because at the same time, we helped them launch one of their 10 by 10 kits. So that was a huge product launch. And we have some new things coming out next year within their product line as well. Another one was an aluminum railing company that we had acquired. And we just launched this year horizontal cable rail that falls under that aluminum railing. And then another one was earlier on this year. It's a PVC railing company manufacturer out of South Jersey that we acquired called Intex. And then, this year so far, we've launched aluminum railing, that horizontal cable rail I was just talking about, that launched this year. A couple of new deck colors launched this year. And we have more to come, man. Can't say much about the new products for next year. We know about that, but they'll kind of be announcing it in the next couple of months. But just like a hint, we do have some new deck boards coming out. We do have some new railing coming out, and other things. Can't get into it too much, but yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So everything we were talking before, like some of the new products, did we go through all those? You're talking, trying to remember, I know we were like cladding.
Cladding was a big hit. So cladding actually, we've expanded on it. Cladding actually came about, I was actually living in California at the time, and we sold a project that just alone in deck boards was over $200,000. It was a retail front. And so after that, it really hit us with pretty much the installation tied to it. And, with products, you got to go through code and whatnot and get everything approved. So that really got the ball rolling. That big job got the ball rolling with us thinking about, how we wanted to go to market with our boards for cladding. So still to this day, we do just say PVC as part of the cladding applications. But we are coming out with different options coming up. So that was a big launch back in 2018. Some newer things though are coming out in the future. The big launch for this year though was our aluminum framing. So it was kind of a soft launch, but that is alternative framing. That is the biggest launch because besides wood, really the only option you had was steel framing, or there was a newer product within the past year, a little bit over a year, I want to say, almost like well, they do call it composite framing, but it's a fiber material wrapped with composite. So there never really was a big player that had aluminum framing. So that launched this year. The horizontal cable rail launch this year which is a big mover so far for us. And then the deck boards. We had a new collection, part of the scallop collection. For those listening, of course, with those scallop boards that we've always had, the number one setback was the fact that we couldn't use Cortex, which is a screw and plug system from the top down. A lot of guys will use that for their accent or picture frame piece and their stair treads. We didn't have that in the past for our scallop boards. This specific collection that we just launched this past year, called the Terrain Plus collection, can be used with Cortex screw and plugs. So that was a huge jump for us.
Okay. Okay. And I hear aluminum framing, nonstop. It's kind of what I guess everybody's talking about. So I'm just kind of curious because again, I'm on the marketing side. I don't know the cost of all these things. Like, how does it compare, building a new deck with that kind of framing versus steel or wood? I mean, what's the price breakdown?
Yeah. So compared to wood, you're over double, right? So compared to wood, you're going to be double. Compared to steel framing, depending on the application, right? Depending if you're going to picture frame the deck, depending if some guys will double up their beams. So depending on what you do, if you're just doing a standard aluminum frame versus steel, you might be about 10 to 15% more than your steel. If you're going all in, you could be around 20 to 25% more than your steel. Keep in mind though, aluminum, different material versus steel, definitely going to last longer than your steel.
Okay. What's the, I guess, time difference, with the steel and aluminum?
Say that one more time, Alex. I lost you.
Yeah, no problem. So what's the difference in time? Like how long a steel frame lasts versus aluminum?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, steel, they've had railing out, for instance, for a long time, and eventually, it's going to rot, right? It all depends really where in the country you are, Alex, and the environment, moisture,
Sure.
of course, humidity, freezing temps. That all depends. But ballpark, you're looking at steel versus aluminum. It could outlast it, 10 to 15 years possibly.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And I know you guys are killing it. You guys are growing quick, and business seems like it's just been exploding for a while now. I'm just curious. Obviously there's competitors out there, and some guys that might want to switch over. So I mean, in terms of, I guess, like overall support and kind of help you guys provide, if they switch over, any specifics on anything that's specific to just TimberTech or AZEK. Anything you could kind of talk with that, like how you kind of support your contractors that maybe just moved to you, or just kind of ongoing, things to really help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And for instance, it's funny, it's 4 o'clock my time, or almost 4 o'clock. We just hosted a webinar at 2 p.m. What we do is we try to recognize and give recognition to our contractors within our contractor base. So we actually had a guy from San Diego. He's a platinum contractor of ours, Fraser Decks and Patios, because what we've realized is, on these webinars, it's great from a manufacturer level to host these, but at the same time, contractors want to hear from colleagues, and I say colleagues, contractors, that the boots on the street. So we actually had a platinum contractor of ours talk about how they market their company, and giving feedback on what's worked and what hasn't worked for them. Like, for instance, this contractor, Fraser Decks and Patios, was talking about, in his neck of the woods, Yelp is huge for him. But there's a certain algorithm that you want to follow, because if you don't follow, you're not going to get listed at the highest level. You're not going to get as many leads, because what they look for is your response time. So just giving like feedback like that. So that's part of the piece of the puzzle. We have our contractor program, right? So our contractor program, you have guys that are starting off technically that are listed at the member level. And then as you build more with us, you go from member, silver, gold, platinum. And then depending on the tier that you're at, you'll get a rebate throughout the year as you submit your invoices. So we have a whole portal where contractors will submit their invoices. It's tied to the warranty of the project. And then within 48 hours, they can go in and see exactly how much that they can spend on, let's say, marketing efforts, anything really business related. I don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but anything really business related tied to working with us. And then on top of that, you get a labor warranty with being within our program. So you have a manufacturer's labor warranty to offer to the customer on top of the workmanship warranty that a contractor is giving, which usually is about a year or two workmanship warranty. So you got the labor warranty in there. And then we partner with vendors in the contractor program as well. Groundwork, for instance, that's more of a lead form that will be embedded on your website. So when a homeowner goes to your website, that form is there and they're capturing a video. So we give a certain discount off that. JobTread we're partnered up with, which is a CRM platform for contractors to use. Just stuff like that. NADRA, North American Deck and Rail Association. If you're a member, you can use your funds. So we do that. And then on top of that, like, we host our trainings at our plants. So we have plants in Boise, Idaho. We have a plant in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a plant in Wilmington, Ohio. Majority of them, for East Coasters, you'll probably go to Wilmington, Ohio. West Coasters, you go to Boise, Idaho. And we'll bring contractors in to train them for 2.5 days. Excellent opportunity for the contractors to get out and also network with others that are in attendance, because you have guys from your region coming, but you also have guys and gals from one other region that might be going as well that you can network with. And then, as you go up the ladder, the more perks you get. Leads, of course, being one of them. We offer free leads to our contractors. That comes majority from our website, whether it's sample orders, our contractor locator. So once you're within our program, you'll be listed on the website, our deck designer that we have, social media, request a quote, all that good stuff. We will send leads out for free. And then, I was saying, as you go up in levels, we have a summit every year for our platinum contractors, where we bring them in for 2 days, and it's pretty much a mix of pleasure, networking, and then discussing business as well. Man, I could go on and on about this, but that just gives you a hint.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of, I guess you guys with those programs, I think you guys do fun trips and stuff too, right? Like, I think you guys have taken them fishing and stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sure that's one of the favorites.
Yeah.
Taking on. You guys ever, is it primarily like fishing trips? You ever go on like hunting trips or, any of the things like that?
So it's funny you ask. Living out, growing up, the only thing I really shot was, my dad had guns, but never really took me out, and he didn't really shoot them too much. They were more so his father's. My grandfather was in World War II, and he liked shooting. But growing up was just paintball and BB guns. And then, once I moved to California, it's a little, I'll just put it this way, it's a little bit different out there when it comes to guns.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Once I moved to South Carolina, of course, things changed a little bit. And I went shooting. I went shooting the other month with a contractor. That was fun, but have not gone hunting. So I definitely want to do that. That is going to 100% be in the cards next year. The majority of stuff that I've done, ranges anywhere from, fishing to golfing to paintballing. I've taken a group of contractors paintballing, to axe throwing, to sporting events. But yeah, hunting is definitely in the cards, for sure.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good, man. We'll have to talk. We have an outfitter up, I was telling you, in Pennsylvania. we have a hunting outfitter out there, so we should
I would
get you
love to
out there,
bring it
man.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, get you
absolutely.
out there. But all right, so I know you said like some of this is a little hush hush, but I mean, anything you'd want to speak to, I guess, future developments or anything like maybe not specifics, but I guess things to expect, coming out here in the next year or so.
Yeah. I mean, I'll hint at it, right? Guys have and gals have asked us for alternative railing options. We manufacture aluminum railing and composite railing. However, there are other railings out there that, include, let's say, vinyl or steel. So let's just say we have some alternative railings coming out. We have some newer deck boards coming out, on the PVC front. Contractors have kind of asked for different color options at a lower price point. So we are listening. And then we have some options coming out. When it comes to the structure portfolio, for the aluminum pergola, and we do have about at least 3 to 5 other new products coming out that I won't discuss too much about right now.
When do they get released? When does
Hey,
everyone?
so we have our meetings next month. So pretty much what happens is you have early buy with your lumber yards. All manufacturers do around the late fall, winter time frame. And so everything, will ship usually early spring of the next
Okay.
year. So everything will be announced, in the next month, and then everything will be shipped usually around the springtime frame.
So like Deck Expo, by then it'll be public
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. My Deck Expo in November.
Okay. Um, so always got to talk about or at least touch on the digital marketing side because I'm curious what you say about this, but especially because you mentioned Yelp, which is blowing my mind a little bit. Saying that it actually works out pretty well, but what do you guys typically see with the contractors you deal with? Getting enough leads. I mean, do you recommend anything to them? Like anything that you've just heard, I guess, the most about that is best for generating leads? Anything like that?
Yeah, we try to recommend as much as we can. A lot of the times, of course, too, they're using local companies as well, or companies that they might hear from another contractor, for instance, like you guys. But like, always keeping an ear open. Contractors from like a lead standpoint, and it's funny too. You have those conversations, and a contractor might say, I get more than enough leads. I don't need any more leads. Well, it's funny because this contractor that was on the call was like, you need more than one avenue of leads. And if you have
Yeah.
two, you more than likely need more than three. Because
Yeah.
what happens if Yelp shuts down tomorrow? Or
Yep.
what happens if this platform that you're using shuts down today? Like you need to be backed up. So like when I'm talking to a contractor, usually, I'm recommending a company like yourself, or depending on what they're trying to do, it might be truck wraps that we help support them with. Because it tends, from what I hear, truck wraps tend to be one of the number one lead generator sources for contractors at the local level, followed by digital advertising, of course. Keywords, SEO, stuff like that. But from what I've been hearing, we do billboards from time to time. And like from a company standpoint, like for instance, we've been doing a lot of advertising over at the Atlanta Braves, with radio ads and at their ballpark and stuff. But I've always heard, and always the feedback that I get is that truck wraps, along with of course digital ads when it comes to SEO and keywords, are kind of the number one generators.
Yeah. I love the truck wraps. I mean, I think everyone needs that. And that plays right into digital marketing because if you can show that off online, it looks way more official.
Yep. And
Makes you look,
you're throwing on your QR code on the truck and
yeah,
your website, and that's leading them right to digital. Yep.
yeah. And the good thing about that's what is cool, I feel like that's an easier sell, especially if it works.
Yep.
Versus like digital marketing, it's like, it's not the sexiest thing in the world.
Hands
versus
down.
like versus a cool wrap truck. So yeah, that Yelp one's blowing my mind. I mean, I know people get leads from Yelp, but that specific area, I would have to, maybe I'll meet that. Maybe you have to introduce me to that person at Deck Expo or something so I
Yeah,
can see
absolutely.
what
Yeah,
they're doing, because that's
yeah,
pretty.
Dave, because his brother's going to need some help. They're opening up a company, well, same company, but in Tennessee. So his brother probably is going to need some help getting leads out there. But yeah, yeah, they're on Instagram too. He's a great guy. But he did call out though. He's like, listen, I know Yelp sucks out east, but out here it's amazing for us.
Interesting. Okay. I think who was the because I know I was on a
Fraser
what was
decks
that?
and patio covers.
It broke up. Sorry, what was that?
Fraser decks and patio covers.
Okay, now because I did a webinar with Chris Breen's group, and somebody had a brother moving to Tennessee, so it must have been the same guy. I don't know what the chances are. I just don't remember their name. So, but yeah,
Yep,
I think I spoke to them.
it's definitely him.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be. Okay. Yeah, well then, all right. So I guess newer contractors, do you have a lot of guys, I mean, coming to you? I mean, is it usually people that are switching over? Or is it you have a lot of new guys, like people that are just getting in, starting their business, and you kind of work with a lot of them too, I guess. Always kind of curious on that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. We have, of course, with our advertising efforts, we have guys that find us through the advertising efforts that just, go to our website and might want to connect to a sales rep. We do have guys that, you know, might want to possibly make a switch from what they're currently doing, or, they might have run into an issue that wasn't taken care of the way that they wanted to, and they got, possibly upset with the other manufacturer and make the switch. Or, they might have been using one of the competitors for a long time, and you just keep on calling on them, providing them value, and eventually they give you a shot.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's really just a mix. And just hustling and uncovering contractors, whether it's on the website, word of mouth, through others, all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So if somebody is listening to this that's, more interested, or maybe they liked your intro and they really resonated, and maybe they're from the same area, who knows, whatever. But if they want to reach out, or I guess just get more involved, how do people typically do that? They just reach out to the website, or they, what is the process if they're like, want to give you guys a shot and start installing some of your boards and seeing how it goes?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website has a specific for pros landing page. So pretty much they would head there, and it's a just simple form, maybe 6 questions. And then what ends up happening is they'll submit that. Sales rep gets that. We have over, let's call it 150 easily sales reps in the country. Usually their radius is anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in their neck of the woods. And so that sales rep will reach out to them. And then at the same time, if you're on Instagram, for instance, I'm just under TimberTech Jeff. Shoot me a message if we haven't already connected. And then if you're not in my neck of the woods, which is Delaware down to Georgia, I know a lot of people, of course, in the company at this point, so I'll connect you with the right person.
Okay, awesome. And anything else, like additional insights, anything you want to add, before we kind of wrap up here?
No, I appreciate having me, Alex. Like I said, I can't say too much, but
Yeah.
I think the crowd will be happy with what we're coming out with next year, and also we will have some tweaks in the contractor program too.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, if you want to learn more about it, go to Deck Expo too, and come check out my booth while you're at it, even though it'll be a lot smaller and worse than TimberTech's, but come say hi. But yeah, I think that's it, Jeff. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing all this stuff, and giving us a whole bunch of information on everything related to TimberTech. And I know everyone got a lot of value from it too. So appreciate you coming on, and going forward with the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast. So we're going to continue doing this style. We've actually had a pretty big backlog of guests. A lot of great people like Jeff that have been coming on and wanting to share. So trying to pump it out even more than once a week, but that's kind of where we're at right now. But if you like the podcast, if it all got some value from it, you enjoyed it, please share it, leave a review, subscribe to it. Excuse me. That helps us out a lot. So, and of course, if you have any help, if you need help with digital marketing, reach out to us too through our website, deckfencemarketers.com. But that about does it, Jeff. While I can't talk right now, I'm glad we're getting towards the end because I got something in my throat. But I appreciate you, man, coming on here and sharing all this stuff. And we'll be talking soon.
Thanks, Alex. Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem, man. See ya.